All right, welcome everyone. We're continuing our, I think, fourth class on the incredible story of Gan Eden. Very exciting. We are changing history as we speak, as we try to understand what's happening. As we know, right, one of the main way to change the world is to change the way we look at it. Which is what a lot of actually Jews and non-Jews are trying to do through meditation, global consciousness, awareness, spiritual awareness, and the more we will understand the world in a way that is true, which means according to the true interpretation of the Torah, then the more we will be able to have the right feelings, the more we'll be able to have go into action, meaning and do what needs to be done, because we understand really what the problem is, and what better than the story of Gan Eden to actually understand what the problem is. So because everything started there. So here we go. Let's try to see how God allow us to understand here, right? And this is important to understand also in general. When we learn Torah, there's two approaches of learning Torah. You can learn Torah and then just accept whatever Mesorah interpretation, explanation was given, which one needs to learn also that way, because obviously there's we know certain truth only through the understanding of from Mount Sinai, how to understand things. But so beside the Mesorah, beside that part of understanding what was given, is also completing the Torah, that we have a role to play to complete that interpretation. Each one of you is a soul, each one that is a letter of the Torah, so to speak, and therefore each one of you, each one of us is here to complete the puzzle so that we can all understand the Torah on a level that was never understood before. And that completes creation, right? It's as if to say, when all the interpretations of the Torah will be finally be revealed, the Torah will have been completely downloaded into this world, and therefore we can now use it fully. So as we read, one of the reasons we still read Torah today is because obviously we don't have full understanding, because if we had full understanding and we lived the Torah the way it's supposed to be lived, we will have achieved perfection, right? Because when you're totally clear of what it is that you have to do, and there's no doubt, and the answer to your question is so crystal clear, then you don't go off there, so to speak. You don't go off the path of doing the right thing. Okay, enough of my talking. Let's see what Hashem wants to reveal to us, and let's go. So now the serpent was cunning beyond any beast of the field that Hashem God had made, and he said to the woman, "Did perhaps God said, 'You shall not eat of any tree of the garden'?" So we spoke a little bit about the snake being naked and or cunning, right? There's two ways to look at it. So I don't want to necessarily go back into that at this point. But I want to try perhaps to understanding what a bit the Nachash is, because it's very, I think, confusing. Okay, what's a Nachash? Okay, it's a snake. Is it the type of human being? He has legs, he speaks. Is it the Yetzer Hara? Is it the Satan? So I don't know if we can give a full answer, but one of the thoughts that I think we can have and understand is that one of the thoughts that we can have about the Nachash is that the Nachash, why do we have animals? Okay, we're speaking about Adam and Eve being in a spiritual world. Okay, so it looked different, even though there were some aspect of the spiritual world that was similar to what we experience now, because we are like looking in the mirror now, right? This world, like just like the water reflects the colors of the sky. So when you look at the water, it looks like you see the sky, but really it's water. It's different than heaven, right? So when you look at this world, everything you see, every tree, every branch, every person, every animal represents something in heaven. When we were in Gan Eden, we had the full direct perspective of what those things were. So what are the animals? It seems clear from the Talmud and many other places that and from what we saw before, that man has to rule over the animals. Why do you have to rule about the animals? That's we're not zookeepers. We don't need. I mean, it's nice, but we are supposed apparently to use the animal in a way that it's like as if each animal is a certain energy and a certain wisdom. And I think it's very similar to what we say about the trees. Just like we said, the tree, each one is a wisdom on how to understand God. And each tree is like also a human being. So every human being that we meet, we have to learn, eat from their fruits, and in order to understand God. Every animal is also wisdom, not to see how to understand God only, but more how to serve God. We know from the Gemara that it's a certain what animals behave, and we speak about human beings behaving a certain way. It's like you behave like an animal, right? that's the famous expression. So the behavior we have is very connected to animals, and you know, it's interesting that nowadays, you know, we have all those movies, and how many movies, you know, are connected to human beings like animals, or human beings having the power of the animal, the power of the wolf, the power of the lion, you know, or those hero movies where they transform like themselves like eagles or whatever. So the idea is, what I want to express here is that all those animals enables us to get a glimpse on how to behave with different type of behavior that we can have in serving God, in coming closer to God. Every animal, like it says in Gemara, okay, I forgot which Gemara, but the Gemara says that we learn from the cat how to have tznius, how to be tzniut, right? And we learn from the ant how to work hard and invest in for the future. And every animal is going to teach something different. So we also we should be as bold as a leopard, right, and as swift as an eagle. So in Nishmas Kol Chai, we speak about that. So we are clearly speaking about that our behavior can be very similar to animals, and that we can learn from animals how to be. So all this to say, one is we can learn from Gan Eden that animals, and in this world, we could learn from animals that there's a system, and that each animal, the way the animals serve their purpose in creation, the way they behave, we're supposed to analyze that in order to understand how to serve God better. But here we're speaking about the snake who was the most cunning from all animals. So it appears that the snake was a type of super high intelligence animal, but it's a cunning animal. And it says in the Midrash Rabbah Bereshit that he was supposed to be our great servant. So that means that the behavior of the snake was supposed to be something that will challenge us to get to serve God, to get as close to God as possible. And I think it's a hint to why we call it the evil inclination, or why God shows this as the inclination. It means as if to say that you know what is really going to help you serve God on the highest level, the your highest helper in you coming close to God, it's your evil inclination. Your highest helper, the most powerful helper, energy that is going to help you love God, desire God, come close to God, work for right to attach yourself for God with God, and allow you to grow to be the best of who you can be, is the Yetzer Hara, is the Satan, is that evil inclination, is evil in the world. Because this is what is going to give you enhance, it's what's going to give you that passion, it's going to give you that intensity, that struggle. If we didn't have that, even if we didn't have that struggle, if we didn't have that helper, that energy in us, just like the Gemara says, when the Chachamim pray to remove the Yetzer Hara, something as Yetzer Tov left with it. So they pray to remove Avodah Zarah, and then nobody had prophecy. Nobody had a desire to pray, to just want to speak to God. There was no spirituality left. And when they prayed to remove the Yetzer Hara for sexuality, then nobody wanted to have intimacy. There was no more sexual interaction. There was no more kids. So we understand the necessity of this energy represented here by the snake. Okay, so that I think that's important to say. So now that energy that is now challenging the woman, is coming to challenge the woman and the female energy that exists in men. And it says, did perhaps God say, you shall not eat of any tree of the garden? So he's not trying to lie. He's saying, he's pushing the woman to go into a reflection on what really God said. The woman said to the serpent, of the fruit of any tree of the garden we may eat. Of the fruit of the tree which is in the center of the garden, God has said, you shall neither eat of it nor touch it, lest you die. So he's allowing her to expose or to reveal what it is that she understands about the tree. And there's a tree in the center, as Rav Yaakov Weinberg says, that's how it says that the center obviously was the tree of life, and attached to it was a tree of good and evil. So she understood that the tree in the center is the root of creation. Everything connects to that tree, and it is an essential tree that and therefore ends up to say, of the fruit of the tree which is in the garden, God has said, you shall neither eat or nor touch it, lest you die. Right? Lest you die. So meaning that that tree has something in essence, but here we don't understand if the dying is punishment or is a natural consequence. Right? It can be two ways. It can be a punishment or natural consequences. Now, what is interesting, right? That's what the woman saying. That's what Chazal is bringing those explanation here about touch it. God had never spoken about touching the tree, right? And I think it's very important to hint here the whole power of touch, right, in our life. The whole idea of Shomer Negia and the power of touch. We see that it's connected very much to the beginning of creation. And I think the whole idea of touching a woman, or one spouse or not when she's nida, has to do also with this. Is the touching leads to something much better or deep or worse, much deeper. Anyway, I don't want to focus on that because I think it's more of a side thing, but let's understand that there's a connection here. The power of touch is focused on here. Now the serpent said to the woman, right, God had told Adam that you should not eat of it. Adam had added something to the prohibition which is a type of fence, which is do not touch it, right? Why did he do that? Obviously, there can be a few different answers, but the first one would be a lack of trust, right? Just tell me what is to do. You don't trust me. You want me to, not to do this, so I don't do it. If you add something without letting the other one know, that means you don't really trust them. You think that they're going to make a mistake, like at a child. So it looks like there's a lack of trust, and unless he felt, she needs a fence of protection, she's too weak, which I don't think that would make sense, since she understands that she's the Ezer. She's the one that is here to supposed to help him. Whatever it is, it's clear that I think from that, Chazal, there's many explanation about that. That if we give offense, and we don't explain to people, especially in halacha, what the fence is, then we end up in a world where we live only by the fences, and we transform the Torah completely, and we live a life of complete strictness, which is not supposed to be lived like that. And it destroys, it can bring literally death to the Torah. And according to one opinion, the second Beis Hamikdash, God destroyed because we were too strict and put fences and lived only on the level of fences with the others. But when fences becomes the halacha and you lose the perspective, you end up being extreme and lose the sense of the truth. So that fence that was given here was clearly pitfall, and the woman was trapped by the snakes, the Yetzer Hara's temptation, or how to say, convincing. And that is a great lesson for us, not to, whenever you tell something to someone and you want to add a protection, always explain that it's an extra fence, it's a protection, and not the halacha itself, or not the essence itself of the thing, because otherwise people will come to a new reality, truth about what things are. Yeah, I want to say that actually because I just read it again this week. I think it really shows, it shows exactly that point. There's a story, famous story, that Rav Yaakov Weinberg, that's how my Rebbe's father explains, how he was one time he was 8 years old. Shows you how smart he was at that age. He went in a yeshiva in Israel, and it happened that there was a woman whose coat, I think his garments caught fire, and the Rebbe said, no, don't. Okay, I cannot approach her or do anything because I cannot touch her. It's like you can't. And the next day, when Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg was 8 years old, decided to leave the yeshiva immediately, because you can't have someone who teaches you Torah who tells you cannot touch a woman to save her while she's burning, right? This is not Torah. This is stupidity. It's someone who doesn't believe in God. So, right? So there are certain individuals in the world who live on the level of fences, and their Judaism is not real Judaism. And I believe we suffer a lot today. I know for myself, when I started learning the true halacha of things, I was shocked to what was allowed to do. In cases you think like, for sure you need a divorce, or for sure you need, it's not Jewish, or for sure it's not married, or for sure it's whatever it is, you realize that the Torah is extremely flexible, and that what we think sometimes is halacha and there's no budging is not like that. The way my Rebbe explains is one of the way we write a Sefer Torah is with a feather. Why we write a feather? We have very good ink pens, because the feather is bends, it's flexible. And the Torah itself has to be something that is flexible, that works with the human being, that is not rigid, that is not just a fence. And when we understand that that's how the Torah is, then we don't fall into the traps of the Yetzer Hara, because the Torah is here to understand you, right? It's like you said, yeah, if you do this sin, you go to hell. That's it. You can't. It's very much the way it's taught today. So the Nachash loves that, you know. It's using the fences. Our Yetzer Hara, our heart gets, and soul gets scared, and we live by the fence, and we live in fear. And we're going back to the story of Gan Eden with the Nachash that is using those fences for us to live a life of a black and white life, where we are, it's all about the rules, and we're scared not to make a mistake. And when we make a mistake, we feel so guilty and terrible. This is not the proper way, because that's exactly the way Nachash proceeds. Okay. So the servant said to the woman, "You will not surely die," meaning true God said that you know, something is going to happen. I mean, they obviously understand, I know God exists, and he's not trying to convince that God doesn't exist and he didn't say what he said, but he's trying to say that God did it for a specific reason. The reason God prohibited the things is because he's preventing you to achieve something. For God knows that on the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and bad. Now, all this is true, right? The Nachash is not trying to lie to the woman. He's trying to convince her to do something that, you know, maybe the consequence is not exactly bad for you. You know, you'll be like God, knowing good and evil, and then actually maybe good. You'll be like God, and you. So the only thing is that he's playing on is you will not surely die. Maybe not, you know, because if you become like God, knowing good and evil, then maybe you don't die, or maybe. Okay, no. So I'll leave it at that. So it's a challenge that where the woman was seduced, so to speak, not seduced, but convinced. He's trying to convince her, and obviously he's trying to convince the female energy. So we see that he's almost is putting doubt. We know Amalek, which correspond to Haman, to the snake, to the Nachash, is playing with doubt. He's allowing a little doubt to come in, and the woman, the female energy, doesn't like doubt. She you know, that's why the husband, she always asks her husband, she want, okay, what's the truth? Well, she doesn't want to be in that unknown. You know, she wants to have total clarity. And the man is supposed to provide that clarity. No, it's going to be fine. We're going to do that. That men have to give the male energies. I'm going to give you a plan. This is how it's going to work. Don't worry. Don't be in doubt. Don't be insecure. Feel safe. So, and the woman, so that had because of that doubt, so she started looking at the tree a little bit more deeper. And the woman perceived that the tree was good for eating, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was desirable as a means to wisdom. And she took of its fruit and ate. Okay. So first of all, she saw, oh, actually, it's fruits, just like the other tree. Okay, so I eat it. It's not something that's not inedible. It's a tree, so just like the other, it's something that is eatable, that is good. And then tavahu, the tava, right? I think the first time that tava, desire, comes into the Chumash, which is an indication of what tava is here. Tavahu leinaim. that she looked at it, her desires came from it. She wanted that, meaning that each time we have a desire in our life, we have to remember, I'm like Chava in front of the tree, perceiving the tree. And yeah, it might look really desirable. There's something desirable about it. You know, if why would God make something so desirable if it's not good? Right? So it's pushing us to look at reality in a different way. You know, something can look very good and not necessarily be good for me. Not everything is inside what is outside. Although it's a question in Gan Eden, everything should be transparent. And I think there was a transparency, but she thought it might be, she was able to deal with it in a way. And the tree itself is, they say it was pleasurable to, it was let's say, eating delight, no, so desirable. Okay, I think the English is kind of not giving proper thing, but nechman. So there was one that is more physical, one more spiritual, emotional, meaning there's a mix of all the emotions here, and that it would be good for her understanding that kachmi pirio, and she took from its fruit and ate. So she clearly had a judgment call here where she was looking for something more. Okay, we're speaking about Chava, and we say that she felt the need. She was that female energy in a need of male energy, in a need of direction, in a need to feel love, in a need to understand better. Adam Arishon apparently had not been able to provide that, right? And here she's put, and she understands she's a Ezer, and she understands she's here to help her husband. We can almost come to say that she said, I'm going to take that energy that gives good and bad, that energy of temptation, of desire. I'm going to eat it. It's going to be part of me. And what? And she gave also to her husband with her, and he ate. Right? He didn't even argue. And he gave, ותן גם לאישה אימה ויאכל. As if they did it together, as if she convinced him, I want you to experience that true desire and love, and as if the good and evil, the understanding of good and evil will increase their connection to each other, which we know sexuality, which could be good and evil, increases extremely the desire to know each other, understand each other, right? Eve, Chava, the female energy, is trying to push the male energy, Adam, and she thinks that I'm going to use that energy, that tree, that power of that sneaky power, right? And use it to increase the type of relationship I can have with my spouse. And now we can certainly understand why the world we live in today. The women understand very well how to use the sexual energy for how to manipulate men, right? And that comes from the snake. Again, that whole manipulation with the Nachash. And we see how male also, because now they experience it too, uses that or are prey and fall into the desire for women or for sexuality, negative sexuality, and are trapped into that. So the male and female became trapped in a way, or became experience now that intensity of what that fruit was about. Now, the question is, what was that tree? Okay, right. So it can be that energy of knowing good and evil, but how it relates to the tree of life. It looks like understanding good and evil, having an intimate experience of good and evil, meant that it's an access to life, to the tree of life. And in a way, it's true. Would you say someone who is passionate is more alive than someone who is, bored or has no feelings? Definitely, right? So it's clear that that knowledge of good and evil had an intrinsic, more than any other trees and knowledge in the world, a connection to life that was that almost gave life to the tree, that was part of really experiencing lives, as if to say that, we need to eat from that. It's part of the tree of life. It's essential for life. It's essential. And I think we all agree, that it's something that we probably would do again, as it says in the Gemara, a very fascinating Gemara that says that if it's a discussion between, I think, Adam and God, if I remember correctly, and Adam says, if I had to do it again, I will eat again, right? Meaning that the fact that Adam Arishon didn't argue, right, means that he kind of agreed with his wife. He followed his wife's advice. They knew very well what was happening. They knew there would be a consequence that has to do with life and death. And that it will lead you to a higher level of understanding, closer to God, to be like God. Now, let's remember that whole experience also was a challenge for Adam. Adam at the beginning didn't accept the female energy, meaning that Adam wanted to be like God, and it seems that Eve understood that he wanted to be like God, right? You want to be so male, you want to be so powerful. So here, this is what you want. You want to be super male. Here, eat of that energy that will give you even more malehood. To be like Elohim. It doesn't say to be like Yud-Keh-Vav-Keh, be like Elohim. Have all those powers. So Adam will say, yeah, I want to be more male. I make that choice. And what happened is that he realized that it's not like that. That you will always, no matter how male you are, you will not be able to do it without that female energy and being God's spouse. Now you're even more female. Now you're more physical. You will even die, and the only way you can live and survive and anything is to understand your dependency of God. And now you're more female than you ever were. You're bound by time and limitation of this world. You're more physical, and you're more emotional. You have more temptations, and here you go about the female struggle, right? So that's one way how we could look at it. But I wanted to share with you, connected to that, to give perhaps a different perspective. It is a Gemara in Chulin 60, Samech Amud Aleph and Amud Beis, page 60A and B. So the Gemara starts with speaking about distinguishing between different species of animals. Okay, that's not so important in itself, but we're trying to. It's trying to see how you differentiate between different animals, what are the specific signs. And then right in the middle, it starts speaking about something completely different. It speaks about an ox that Adam Arishon offered to Hashem. and that ox had one horn on its head, like a unicorn type of ox. So why is it there? So the Gemara in Avodah Zarah, Ches Amud Aleph, explains that when Adam experienced the first nightfall, he was afraid that the world was being brought to an end because of the sin he committed on the first day of his existence. When morning arrived, he realized that this was simply the natural cycle of night and day, and he sacrificed an ox in thanksgiving. So somehow this story, that strange story of an ox, has to do with Adam Arishon, realizing that that he didn't grasp completely how the system works, and that there's a pattern in the system. And I believe it's hinting to us that the sin itself was also part of the system, right? There's two ways to look at the sin. One part is the way we explain is that there was a desire to achieve power, that male energy, and to feel more like God, because he felt that he was not, he was second-class citizen, right? Actually, we're going to come to speak about it, and therefore he desired that to take that, and that was a real sin, to go against God, and not accept his female position, and that came from an misunderstanding that female can be as great as male, right? Or you can say that no, the whole thing that happened here with the snake, and that Adam and Eve being split, and that male and female energy, that whole thing actually comes from the natural cycle. Just like there's a natural cycle of night and day, it was a natural cycle of falling, or that play of energy, male female, and that fall here that made him into a more female person, being, is also part of the creation. Even though they has free choice, it was pushed on some level to go that way and make a choice, be confronted with himself with that choice, but it was still part of God's plan, so to speak. A bit hard to explain. Sorry if I lack the right words, but I think it's going to be more clear as we continue. Then it goes right after that story with the ox and Adam Arishon, right? Which is in itself strange. Obviously, it's much deeper than what we said, but it's just to focus on the main point. Then he goes and speaks about Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, that says that regarding all the works of creation, that they were created with their full stature, they were created according to their will, and they were created to their desire, meaning that all of creation actually was created in the way that they wanted. Okay, as if to say that everything was there specifically with their own unique trait and characteristic, and they could choose who they wanted to be. Okay, now for just follow with me. I know it might not be as clear as I want to make it, but we're getting there. The next thing that the Gemara brings is that when the Holy One basically he said regarding the trees that each tree should be according to its kind, the various types of herbage, the grass, raised the logic of Kol Vachomer, which is fortiori regarding themselves, and reasoned that if the Holy One basically he desires a confusion of species, then why did he say each after its kind regarding the trees? And so therefore they derive from that when we are also going to be grasses, each one after its herbage, meaning that despite the fact that it would be natural for trees to grow separately, God specified that each kind should emerge at a distance from its fellows so as to be identified individually. what the Gemara is trying to bring more and more is that creation in itself, life in itself, is looking for independency, is looking for that male energy in itself. I don't want to be mixed up with everything. I want my individual. I want to be created the way I want, with my own characteristic, my own greatness. But it's speaking about tree and grass, meaning that it seemed that energy of individuality, it was hidden in creation. Now, coming to the fifth and last part of the Gemara, which is gonna, I think, bring us total clarity of what we're saying. This is that famous story of the first argument in creation, or if we can call it an argument. It says like that. We know Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi say the contradiction, pose the contradiction. It says, it is written, and God created the two great luminaries. That at the beginning says God created two great lights, right, when on the fourth day of creation. And it is written right after, the greater luminary to dominate by day and the lesser luminary to dominate by night, right? So initially both luminaries were created, but then the moon stayed before the Holy One, blessed be He. Okay, so you have to imagine that the sun is Hashem, right, and the moon is it's us. It's Adam HaRishon, Master of the universe. Is it possible for two kings to utilize the same crown? Right? It's asking a question. Nothing, right? You have two kings with one crown. Is that possible? So God said to her, indeed, go and diminish yourself. Lechi umati, like go do it. Try it, experience. So the Gemara is trying to understand. The moon then said before him, Master of the universe, I don't understand. I went and diminished myself, but is it fitting that because I said a correct thing before you, I must diminish myself? Meaning I said something correct, right? One crown for two people, it doesn't work. So I say something good, and because of that, I get to be diminished. Meaning that it's as if God was saying that whatever you feel, whatever you understand, whatever you want to be, you can be. You feel that it's not possible to have two people, two bosses and one crown. Okay, if that's your logic, then diminish yourself. If you don't think it's possible, then make yourself into lower. You don't think that a man and a woman in the house can both have one crown, right? One has to be the boss and one has to be the second class, first class, second class. Okay, so then experience second class if that's what you think, that's how things should work. He said to her in consolation, because apparently Adam had to experience what his reflection was, Adam, the moon, go and rule by day and by night. Then so he tried to console her. So, you're smaller, but you'll be able to be there day and night. She then said to him, what is the greatness in that? For of what use is the candle in daytime, right? If you have light by day, it's not, you see the moon by day, it's not the moon by night, right? So in response, he said further, so meaning it felt like, okay, I'm diminished, but there's nothing, I don't have my identity still, and there's nothing great about me. Go and let Israel recount the days and years through you, so that through you, the moon, the Jewish people are gonna use you in order to calculate the calendar. But the sun also serves in this capacity, for they cannot be reckoned the seasons of the sun, right? When you need the leap year, right? 11, and we use the sun for that. So therefore, there's nothing special, again, something unique about me. So he replied to her, go and the righteous will be called by your name, such as Yaakov HaKatan, Shmuel HaKatan, David HaKatan. So meaning that just like you are the smaller, you have the moon, you have the small light, all those people who are small, they represent you. Nevertheless, he saw that the moon was not mollified, was not satisfied. And interestingly, ka miyatva data. Her da'at was not satisfied, has to do with that. Was not one with it, was not sitting well. I think it's connected with the Etzadas, but therefore the Holy One, blessed be he, said to his people, bring an atonement on my behalf for having diminished the moon. Now listen to that. God is saying, bring an atonement for me, as if God had made a mistake. Not a mistake, a sin. And this is the meaning of that which Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish said. Why is the he-goat of Rosh Chodesh different from the other Musaf he-goats, in that the phrase for Hashem is stated regarding it? It is as if the Holy One, blessed be he, said, so he said that what's unique about the Musaf Rosh Chodesh is that this goat that I'm bringing is this he-goat shall be an atonement for my having diminished the moon. That God is saying, it is my responsibility. Meaning, I wanted you to be independent. I wanted you to be what you want. You create your own world. You wanted to be, you didn't want to be second class. You look at yourself as if you were second class. You needed to experience being independent from me. You wanted to be your own ruler. You didn't want to have two people with one crown. You wanted to have your own crown. That's what you want. Okay, go for it. I'm allowing you to do it. But that means that God is responsible for allowing us for this to happen. God put into creation the need for individuality. God put it into the world, that power of female and that power of male, and the dynamic between the two. And the snake was supposed to cause those two energies to be working with each other, that have the dynamic and allowing to fuse. And God said, that's fine. I'm responsible for it. I bring a carbon for me. And as if to say that, you know, when you sin, don't feel too bad about it. First of all, we know every sin, every action we do is, it can be forgiven. You can always do tshuva. The Zohar says you can do tshuva for everything. Now, but what he's saying is that when we sin, God is saying this is part of creation. It's part of the challenge to want to go against me. Adam Arishon wanted to find that individuality, and he wanted to be very male, in order that I want to be able to do whatever I want to do. I mean, we hear people say they think that is his freedom. I want to be able to do whatever I want to do. And God said, that's what you want to do. Go, lech, you know, ziv, like he says to the moon. Go, do whatever you want to do. But understand that I'm not closing the door after that. You can come back to me, but you have to deal with your own consequences. This is the world you choose. You put yourself in a world where you can be independent. And I think one of the way to look at it is also that Adam Arishon, right, the more you understand who God is, or the more you are, the more you're independent, the more you can understand who God is. So he was pushing himself to understand God as a full male force, to be able to experience himself. So that complete independence, I don't need anything, which when he ate the fruit, that helped me understand that. Because then the woman clearly understood, you want to be super male. Okay, that's one, okay, be super male. Don't, one of the great things that I learned from my Rebbe when he used to speak about, he said that it is nothing worse than to not make a choice. It's better to make a wrong choice than not to make a choice at all. Because this is what the snake does. The snake puts you into a question, a doubt, and you got to make a choice. If you don't make a choice, it's like you're not living. So you're pushed to make a choice. The snake was pushing. You know, if Adam jumped almost like he ate what she gave her, obviously he had that desire in him, and he didn't do anything about it, right? Why didn't he talk to God about his problem, about, you know, about eating or not eating? He was not active, proactive. So there's a story with Yehoshua who tells the Jewish people, and that says, if you don't want to go in Israel, if you don't want to follow God, then don't follow him. And those who want to follow him, but don't be nishta here, nishta here. One day this, one day that. Same thing, Eliyahu Hanavi at Har Carmel says, if you want to serve the Baal idols, then serve the Baal idols. If you see that God is true, then serve God, but don't keep changing or not be undecisive. You want to sin. You don't want to sin, stop. If you sin and you choose to sin, at least you know you sin, and there's chance for you to come back. If you always go back and forth, you get stuck. You're going to get stuck and never go anywhere, never grow. So we see that creation in itself is pushing us to make choices, even if those choices are, and that's part of creation, right? That those choices bring us to a downfall. At least we get a deeper understanding of what it is to fall, what it is to have temptation, what it is to desire, and what it is to hurt oneself, what it is to be in darkness, what it is to be disconnected from God, what it is to not have God and just have human being, just have the moon, just have my own light. But when he falls, he's going to realize that there's nothing that I can have without God. Meaning that part of that process of creation, everything in creation is going to push you to understand who ultimately God is and how to fall again in love with God. And God said, I didn't want that for you. You were supposed to, you could have been that other light and have one crown. We could have one crown. I will be God and you will be my wife. I'll be male energy, you'll be my female energy, and we'll have love each other without having to fight for two crowns. There was a level, your level of insecurity or your level of that being female was lower, that the vessel is lower, was wrong. Interestingly, this morning when I was in shul, Ashgar practice, I was opening a book from Rav Lubavitch Rebbe, Menachem Mendel, and he writing in one of his sichos, Likutei Sichos, that the root of the body, what is responsible for the light that is the root of the body is higher than the light of the neshama. Meaning that what enabled the body to be created, it's like we say Yotzer Or Uborei Choshech. Yotzer Or, God forms light. Forming is a lower level. I'm forming. Borei Choshech, I create light. Create darkness. Creating darkness. Creation is a higher level. Is level of Bria. Is to say that, and listen, this is one of the secret of creation, the secret of what we're experiencing today in life. There is something hidden in the woman. There's something hidden in the female energy. There's something hidden in Mother Earth. There's something hidden in the physicality in our body, in the physical world, that hides something that is much higher than what it appears. Just the same way that the woman is the one who can bring a baby, a soul, download a soul in this world and give that life, that baby, and the man cannot do that. The same way that Israel, we need to be on the earth itself, right? Hides certain powers that cannot be experienced anywhere else. So why specifically being in Israel? Who cares? Because there's something hidden in the earth. There's something hidden in the physicality. There's something that unfortunately human beings have rejected, that the male energy has rejected. We don't want that. He looks lower, he looks weaker. Physically, he looks weaker, but you know what? The woman is actually much more strong. Which guy is going to want to give birth, right? There is a hiddenness in the female energy of the world, body, earth, everything, and that is the secret of creation. That's why God is pushing the world to be more and more physical than ever before. We thought that maybe in the past we have been very physical. There's no more physicality in this world more than today. Like we live like kings, physical pleasure on all levels, physical, emotional, all senses, on the five senses, everything is enhanced to the extreme. And it looks like it looks very dirty, it looks very terrible, but behind it hides, behind that darkness, behind that tremendous physical experience that we have in the world, hides tremendous wisdom, secrets, spirituality, and it's a type of cover up. When you look at a woman, you might think she's weak, but she's the one that is called Gvura. She's the one in Kabbalah that is called, she's the Gvura energy, the strength. Gvura is strength. Who is strong, right? So Nimrod is strong. Who is strong? Who Akovesh is strong, someone who controls the desire, the energy. Who is strong? Yitzhak is Gvura, right? So we see that that there's something, a special power hidden in a woman that was not revealed until now. And that's why there's now, we're coming to that whole feminist movement rising up. The woman can do it. We have the power. Yes, I've got the power. The idea is that until now, that female energy had never been recognized. And men had not recognized it at the beginning, and that the woman pushed him almost to come with her to recognize what it is that he's not understanding. Okay, you want to be Superman, you want to be like God. Okay, let's see. You come down with me. Now you're a man. Okay, you can do it on your own, right? You don't need God. So, but he realized even more the truth of his being, and then the eyes of both of them were open, and they realized that they were naked, and they sewed together a fig leaf and made themselves aprons. So we see, we're about to finish. I know we don't want to go over time. We see that there's a new reality, that they saw something new. They realized they were naked. They realized that I don't have any, just like the moon, I don't have any light on my own. And unfortunately, it was misunderstood, because if Adam Arishon had acted properly, he would say, God, you're right. You are my husband. You are my light. I get my energy from you. And not feel bad that it's female, but actually appreciating that it's two parts of the whole, right? God was one. He took a piece and now it's together, just like Adam and Eve. He took two part of one piece and together. It's not because if I do like that, is this greater than that? Or is that greater than that? Neither. If I do like that, they're both as great. But somehow, right, we had that perception, that wrong perception, believe that when I take one out of the other, so that one is lower. But that came as part of creation for us to have our own ego, our own independence, understand how to have a relationship with God, which is going to be that whole male-female dynamic. And that's what really enabled us to sin in a way, to make that choice. Again, it's not necessarily sin. It was a choice to really understand what type of relationship I can have with God, what it is that God is, who am I, what's my male-female power, what is possible between me and God. And we are nowadays coming back to that energy, that struggle of energy, or understanding, appreciating what a man is, appreciating what a woman is, and as a couple, understanding each other's energy, understand that there's no need for competition, there's no second class, there's no one boss. In the way Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg Zatzal explains it, it's a husband and wife is the merging of everything. I have my personality, you have your personality, but we're merging it. We're merging and trying to become one with the other personality without losing one's own personality. There's no need to be completely lost. When we're going to go back to God, God is not going to make, right? It's not going to make us forget our whole memory, right? There's no Alzheimer in heaven. The whole idea is that we are going to remember forever the part of who we are, because that's what unity is. The unity is both energies merging together with its own identity. So and just want to add that they were naked. One of the idea is that they were naked of the neshama. Now they saw their body like that. Where's my soul? Where's my energy? Where is that power of Elohim that make me feel so male, right? And he lost that. He realized that that whole soul, that whole energy, that whole greatness came from the light of God, just like the moon realized that her light really comes from God. Realizing that now he's more female than ever before, understand the female function, understand that it's anyway all a gift from God, and that true love, true relationship, it's not about saying who is the male, who is the female. True love is loving the other with everything that I have, and not trying to be the other, not trying to compete with the other, not trying to be better than the other, right? And that's true love. I love you with my 100%, with whatever I can offer. I do whatever my powers are to offer, and you do your entire power. And that's what couples should really work on, is what it is that as a male I'm best at, what it is that I can accomplish, and as a female, what it is that I'm best at. And again, sometimes a male has more female energy, and sometimes a woman has more male energy, and we have to balance the whole thing so that the couple go in complete harmony. And that whole dynamic here is happening in Gan Eden is really speaking about that, those tension, this problem that we still, I mean, today you look at, nobody's married, everybody's divorced. It's like it's a mess. Nobody studies what a man is or woman. Again, we all have to go to get a PhD in male-female energy. So we'll finish here. Are there any questions? I hope I was not too confusing. I tried to make it as understandable as I thought I could. But it's thanks to you that we came out. I didn't know what I'm going to say yet today exactly. So Hashem I think it was pretty interesting what Hashem made and understood. Any questions? No?
Rabbi, I was very, this is Lauren.
Yes.
I was very interested in what you said about, the couples having like the competition and how to like resolve those feelings of, accepting both of our energies being maybe a little different, but how do you recommend getting to that state of being as you both are growing, as a young couple?
I think is the importance is really, first of all, the communication of that you have together. One needs to learn to communicate, and being able to discuss, actually, like you're speaking about the routine, about tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to do that and you're going to do that. Being able to have a clear discussion about what the responsibilities are, and speak about those responsibilities. Okay, how can we be more in harmony together? How can we work together? What it is that in our life I can bring and do that is going to be, that enables us to be in harmony and be one. Because nowadays you have a lot of women who work. For men, it's very scary that you have a woman working, because he needs to feel that she's going to be dependent on him, because he needs to feel that she's going to be able to be attracted to him and want him and desire him and need him. The moment he feels that, he feels threatened that maybe she's going to find someone else. Obviously it's a little bit superficial, but in the man's ego, he feels threatened that the woman works and can work and make more money than him, right? So the woman has to make sure that she tells him, makes him understand that, I need you. I need you, and I don't need you for your money, right? It sounds a little bit like cheesy, but he needs to understand that you have a need for him, and that you see his greatness. because that's what love is for a man. A man is that ability where he sees, and that's the whole thing what Damar is shown, about the male energy that wants to feel like, I don't need anybody, but you should need me, right? Okay, there's a positive and negative side to that, right? But the positive side is that he wants to feel responsible for the other. He wants to feel he can give. So if you don't make him feel that he can give to you, there's a threat, right? He feels scared. And on the other side, for the woman, he needs to understand that he needs to make her understand that he really desires her more than any other woman, and that he wants her, that everything he does is in order to be closer to her, to learn about her, to want her, to desire her, because that's what the female energy needs, that reassurance, right? So discussing those things and being aware of what it is that the man wants and what a woman wants and what the man needs and what the woman needs, and learning to, you know, express in the relationship what it is that each one needs and what each one expects of the other. It's very beneficial for communication and to to know how to merge together. I hope that was clear enough.
Yes, that was great. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, there's another question.
Do you have a question?
It's actually a comment about the lesson that you taught me today regarding the to be humble, to give and to receive, to be able, because many people think that true love is giving, and we are walking in the pride of giving and giving and giving, but we don't realize that we also needs to be humble to receive.
Yes.
And love is be able to open to receive.
Yes, thank you. That's yes, crucial. Thank you so much for bringing that. It completes the whole thing. Yes, the female energy, which is a more humble energy, we have to understand that we need that humility, and receiving is love. Receiving is love. We think just giving is love. No, you can give and hate the person to whom you give, right? My Rebbe always says that, you know, we say, oh yeah, ahava is you give, you know, and you're gonna love automatically. Not necessarily, no. Actually, you need to learn to receive also. So we have to, part of being connected to that female energy is to learn to receive, to be humble, like you said beautifully, and that will put us in touch with that female power, that power of humility. And in a way, when God took us out of him, when God created man and his own ego and his own, he has the ability to be a woman, God himself was creating that female energy from him, meaning God humbled himself. God said, you can give me too, right? And that's something beautiful that people don't realize, because we see always God as male, giver, giver, giver. God said, I'm male, but I'm putting myself also in female mode. I'm humbling myself. I'm allowing myself to be darkened, hidden in the world, and allow you to have male power and allow to give to me. So this is very relevant to our relationship with God. Understanding God's humility and why God lets himself being insulted or not recognized or ignored. So he's an Anav, he's the most Anav. And Moshe Rabbeinu, right, was the most Anav of all men, right? He was able to become the ultimate female for God, right? And that's why he became so female. He didn't even need to be with his wife anymore, right? Only Moshe Rabbeinu, because nobody can become like that. But to understanding that humility, that power of humility needs to be recognized in everyone. If someone wants to achieve true love, and one needs in a couple to be able and say, thank you for giving me, and letting the other give, so that we make him feel he's giving us love, right? If you don't let the other one give, you're not able to allow that flow of love to come, to go. So whether it's the man or the woman, they both have at some point to become receivers and female, and not be scared of that, and not feel vulnerable, but not feel threatened, or that it's lower level. No, male female energy is really same level. It's really same level. They were together before. Now it's separated, and that's yeah. So thank you so much for bringing that that concept with that. So if any other questions, or you had enough of me already?
Thank you, Rabbi. I appreciate it today.
My
Good, great
pleasure.
lesson.
Thank you everyone for coming, and God will. Oh, you have a question?
No.
No. Okay. So we'll finish here. Thank you everyone.